But we won't just communicate with friends, family, and everyday objects in the future. The household pet may have something to say as well.
Dogs have been man's best friend for 25,000 years. There are over 20 million of them on the planet, but we still don't know what all the barking's about. Well, that's where the Facility for Education and Testing of Canine Hearing and Laboratory for Animal Bioacoustics, that's right, Fetch Lab, as in fetch, dogs, get it? Well, that's where the Fetch Lab comes in. There, Dr. Peter Scheifele is doing incredible research to try to figure out just what dogs are saying.
Coming up, communicating with the animal world around us is changing. It's time to talk to your pet.
The future we hold.
At Fetch Lab in Cincinnati, Ohio, animal audiologist Dr. Peter Scheifele is learning a new language.
Can animals communicate? Yes, they absolutely do.
For decades, the focus of animal communication science has been on trying to get them to talk in our language. Dr. Scheifele is throwing out that old approach. Actually, he's turning it on its head.
Typically, when we have tried to study animals and animal vocalizations, we've tried to do it on our terms. To do everything from, in my case, from an English point of view. Trying to go and make sense of something that an animal does on their own vocalization terms, since we have no knowledge of that, is painstakingly, tremendously hard to do.
But Peter thinks he can learn to speak their language, to talk and listen like a dog.
Do you like cell phones, Jax? Huh? You can call anywhere you want. Just push the button. I'll take it as a sign. If a dog could text, what would he say? That's the real question.
Peter has vast experience working with animals.
I started working with whales, dolphins, and sea lions and progressed into dogs. I worked counter-narcotics dogs and bomb dogs.
Along the way, Peter has learned a few things about how these animals talk.
The bark is not simply just a bark. There are nuances and differences to it, and that's what we're finding. I'm expecting them to react to something, a word or some kind of a gesture or something that makes sense to me.
He's developing, let's call it the Dr. Dolittle paradigm. With it, we can learn to talk to animals in their own language.
How's playtime? It's rough, rough, rough. Rough, arf.
It would be really good if we were able to understand more of what they're doing, how they relate to one another, and how we might relate to them.
Scientists have already discovered a phenomenon called the Lombard response. When some animals hear more noise around them, they talk louder to be heard above the din. Dogs do it, crickets don't. This could mean dogs are using real language to communicate. The first step is to figure out what their hearing capabilities are. In the lab, Q, a female border collie, is getting ready for an ultrasound to test her hearing range. It's important to determine what the hearing range of each animal is. If they can't hear us, we can't communicate.
We're all the way down to 53 dB.
Okay.
Blind people depend upon service dogs. Other dogs are used as crime fighters.
In many cases, your life and the dog's life are reliant upon your ability to communicate with the animal and the animal's ability to communicate back with you.
Peter still has a lot of basic research to do, like figuring out exactly how dogs bark.
All right, so we're finding the larynx.
So this is the tongue here?
So it's opening and closing because she breathes, she pants, okay? And we'll try to ask her to make a sound, and it should open all the way up for the sound to come out. She's going to vibrate her vocal folds. Cue, bark, bark, bark.
We can see a difference in the way the epiglottis moves between one sound and another, and we can document the movement.
She's just getting enough pressure underneath the vocal folds to blow the epiglottis open, and it has to stay open but keep enough pressure under it to make the bark, to make the vibrations, and then at the end of each vibration it'll shut again to maintain the air pressure, which is all just like human breathing. It should be virtually almost the same. It's almost like if you saw somebody down the street and yelled, "Hey!" Good girl, good girl.
By recording and collecting these sounds, it may be possible to figure out what Q is trying to say. According to one study, a stronger bark could indicate that the animal is under stress.
Well, and everything that we learn about the animals relates back to us.
Each bark undergoes some serious scientific analysis.
All right, so Josh now has up a power spectrum, which tells us for any particular call, all the frequencies where the highest power is. And the higher the peak, the more acoustic energy, the more power there is. What we want to know from a power spectrum here is, where does the acoustic energy really lie in the whole grand scheme of what the animal is saying? Can we learn to find out what this means?
Peter's team loads the sound data along with a description of the dog's behavior into a neural supercomputer at Marquette University.
The computer's going to look at it geometrically, mathematically, and say, have I seen this before? Can I match this up with something else that I know?
The computer is still analyzing Peter's pile of dog data, searching for recognizable patterns. Eventually, the researchers could crack the code on what dogs are barking about.
Because it's a neural computer, it can learn. It takes a lot of different sounds, like maybe 100 different barks, and it looks at all of them and tries to sort out whether or not a certain group of barks look like, physically, from a physics standpoint, they are all similar.
Pew. No bark.
I think down the line, understanding the communication from animal to animal and perhaps human to animal is going to lead us into a place in the future where we'll help them and they'll help us a lot more.
Dogs could tell their owners when they're done with their walks. Vets could ask your puppy where it hurts.
From a person point of view, just the average person with their companion animal, to be able to have some kind of communication that is a little bit better would be a really big help.
We fitted a dog with hearing aids this year, so you just never know what's going to happen in 20 years. There's all kinds of possibilities.
Good girl, you did very well today. Excellent.
Communication has always been important to us, but with the technologies out there on the horizon, there'll soon be countless new ways to connect, not just with friends, family, and coworkers, but with animals and even everyday objects.